Hey everybody, welcome to Book Report from Read, Write, and Cite. My name is Dr. Jacob Lauritsen, and in this video, I'm going to break down a couple of poems written by Charlotte Smith. Okay, so let's start by telling you just a little bit about Charlotte Smith. Not going to go into too much detail, and then I'm going to compare two of her poems. Okay, so Charlotte Smith, money was a problem for her, it seems like much of her life. From the research I did, her father had trouble with money when she got married. Her husband had trouble, so much so that he actually went to prison for it. He went to debtor's prison, and she actually had to support him through her writing. And so, towards the end of her life, when a lot of this money trouble was happening, she wrote a lot. And we're going to look at a couple poems today, just as an example of who she was. So she had a rough go of it. So first, we're going to read "To a Nightingale," and then second, "To Sleep." I think there's some similarities between these two poems. So here we go. First, to a nightingale. Poor melancholy bird, that all night long tell'st to the moon thy tale of tender woe. From what sad cause can such sweet sorrow flow, and whence this mournful melody of song? Thy poet's musing fancy would translate what means the sounds that swell thy little breast, when still at dewy eve thou leav'st thy nest. Pale sorrow's victims, wert thou once among, thou now released in woodlands wild to rove? Say, hast thou felt from friends some cruel wrong, or diedst thou, martyr of disastrous love? Ah, songstress sad, that such my lot might be, to sigh and sing at liberty like thee. So I think this is an interesting poem. We've got some great things going on in terms of the literary devices being used here. We have some rhyme and some meter happening, long woe, flow song, and so we've got some alternating rhyming patterns going on. In terms of our rhythm, we've got iambic pentameter, which is just kind of this rhythm for how it's going. But what strikes me the most is this imagery and this metaphor that's happening here. This personification that Smith is giving to a nightingale. So imagine the scene. It's night, and Smith is watching a bird, and it's singing, and it sounds so sad. And the narrator is just like, why? Why is your song so sad? What happened to you that this is the sound of your song? I think that's really interesting. Let's read some of the lines. Okay, so we start off the beginning. Poor melancholy bird, that all night long tells to the moon thy tale of tender woe. So, like, why are you singing all night long this sad, sad song? And then we jump down a little bit. What means the sounds that swell thy little breast? You know, like what's this? What's the meaning behind this? And then we jump down a little bit. I think this is interesting in our third stanza. Say, hast thou felt from friends some cruel wrong? So, like, something happened between you and your friends? Like, you get, I don't know, betrayed? Like what happened there? Or diedst thou, martyr of disastrous love? Like, and then we get this line at the end, which strikes me the most. Ah, songstress sad, that such my lot might be. So now the narrator is relating to this nightingale to sigh and sing at liberty like thee. There's almost this feeling of like, man, it would be nice to be like you, even though you're sad. You're just so engulfed in your misery that you're just letting it out. And there's almost this jealousy, this appreciation from the narrator to the nightingale that's like, wow, you're just really letting yourself experience this. And I think that's a really striking image, almost jealous of this. Just there's no holding back. There's no resistance to this sadness, which I think is really interesting. Now, I talked about some of the problems that were going on in Smith's life, and I think it's a bit of a mistake to try to say like this is what she's talking about unless we have some other context for it. But certainly anyone who reads this can kind of relate in some way. That we've got this, I kind of wish I could let myself feel what you are feeling. Like I don't have to hold back. I don't have to be reticent to let myself feel this thing. I think that's really interesting. Okay, so let's move on to the next poem. We get to sleep. Okay. Calm, balmy sleep, tired nature's soft resort, on these sad temples all thy poppies shed, and bid gay dreams from Morpheus's airy court float in light visions round my aching head, secure of all thy blessings, partial power. On his hard bed the peasant throws him down, and the poor sea boy in the rudest hour enjoy thee more than he who wears a crown. Clasped in her faithful shepherd's guardian arms, well may the village girl sweet slumbers prove, and they, O gentle sleep, still taste thy charms, who wake to labor, liberty, and love. But still thy opiate aid dost thou deny, to calm the anxious beast, to close the streaming eye. Okay, so this first poem to Nightingale, there's this like, man, you could just really feel the sad in this one, to sleep. I think you can find a correlation between these two poems. Okay, so and to sleep, obviously there's almost this envy, this jealousy for like your ability to do this. But she describes a couple different situations, different people in different situations, and their ability to kind of to get good sleep. We compare peasants and those who wear a crown. This is interesting. So we're kind of in the middle. On his hard bed, the peasant throws him down, and the poor sea boy in the rudest hour. So these are working class, poor people. Enjoy thee more than he who wears a crown. And so those who've like earned their sleep, they're going to sleep better than those who are probably sleeping on this very comfortable bed, if you will. And they, O gentle sleep, still taste thy charms, who wake to labor, liberty, and love. So who wakes to labor, liberty, and love? Those who work for it. So it's, again, this tone, it's this sad, almost envious. It's like we're describing this observation of what's going on here. And this is kind of dark, similar to Nightingale. You could almost, these definitely feel like they go together. They have a similar tone, a similar connection. In terms of rhyming pattern, this is a Petrarchan sonnet. We've got A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D going on here throughout this. But the imagery is what makes it interesting, this description of people and their relationship to sleep. And we're capitalizing sleep as if sleep is this, this deity. Now there's reference to Morpheus, which is, we're referring to mythology there. But with capitalizing sleep is not lowercase s, it's capital S. We see it in the first line, we see it towards the end. It's this grand, big thing that maybe the narrator wishes that they could experience. And so this is interesting. There's almost like, if we read into it, and this is what we do when we look at literature, if we're going to read too much into something, if we're to compare the two, we could say, well, this person is trying to feel something. They can relate to the sadness to a nightingale, but there's this something holding back. And there's this like, man, some of these people, even though they're poor and maybe life's not great, but they can sleep. And so even those who seem to be struggling and suffering, there's this, envy there. That's interesting. So we see this narrator who is an observer, watching things and feeling and almost trying to experiencing things by proxy through others, like watching the nightingale, watching those who are able to sleep despite their circumstances, dead, tired, sleep, or those who, don't have to work for it. So I think there's an interesting connection there. And if you were out to write some form of literary analysis, you might be able to compare these two poems next to each other and find something interesting to say. So that's it. I hope that you find that a little bit useful to see these two poems especially next to each other. And maybe there's something for you to work with if you're, just trying to learn a little bit about Charlotte Smith or a little bit about her style. Maybe you want to write about her. So thanks for watching. This has been Book Report from Read, Write, and Cite. I'm Dr. Jacob Larson. I'll see you in the next video.